The first thing we do with the bait caster, obviously, is disassemble it. And with the Ardent bait caster, we got that little switch right there that releases the side plate. And then we take the spool out. And I like to go over and also remove the little tension knob. It's a very, very important feature on bait casters, obviously to keep you from getting a backlash, but also a good place to use your lubricant. The other thing you can do, you can take the little nose plate off. That allows you to get to your worm gear and get to your other gears a lot easier to get the lube where it needs to be. And that's all I do as far as disassembling the Ardent bait caster. But once again, always consult your owner's manual. You might be using a different type of reel. I want to know why, the best or the Ardent, but if you are, go ahead and consult that manual so that you don't mess up when you disassemble your reel. The first step, once again, is cleaning the reel, cleaning the parts, and getting them ready. I like to use the aerosol can of Reel Clean. It's got the little applicator there where you can get in them hard to get places. And don't be afraid to really saturate. What you're trying to do is get rid of the grit, the grime, your old grease, your old oil. You want to get it ready to totally put new stuff in there. So you got to get rid of the old stuff. This applicator really helps you do that. Man, can you get to every little nook and cranny with that? You can get to the worm gear and then go back to your spool. Do the same thing with that. Make sure there's no grit or grime. I even like the tension knob. I'll clean it up, make sure that's all clean. Your end cap, I'll go ahead and get the grit and grime out of that. And once I get that, if there are any hard to get places, I will use the little synthetic swab. And at times, if they're really bad, I'll go ahead and use the brush and work that with the cleaner until I get all that grit and grime out of that reel. And then I'm going to let all these parts and let the reel sit for maybe 5 minutes, let it all dry before I go to the next step. I take the Ardent Real Butter Grease and I get the worm gear right here. And I make sure I really rub that in and work it in because that's a very important little feature right there. And then I go to your main gear here, your crankshaft gear, and I do the same thing with the grease on it. Make sure I hit all little parts. And then I go with the Real Butter oil, and I like to put just a little dab right there. And then where I took the tension knob off, this is another place I put just a little bit. And then I take your spool shaft, and I make sure I saturate it and get that Real Butter oil all over both ends of that. The last step in the lubricating process is get your Ardent bearing lube and you get your side plate bearing right here and really make sure you get that good. That's a very, very important little feature right there on not only making your reels quiet but getting extra casting distance. And then you got your little spool shaft bearing. Make sure you get it real good with the bearing lube, and you've got everything covered. The next step, obviously, is putting it back together. The first thing I do is the little tension knob right here. Very, very important feature on all bait casters. And I don't tighten it all the way up. I take it about halfway, but you need to remember this, is once you get your reel all assembled again, you put it on your rod, you get your line on, now it's time to adjust your tension knob. Pull that rod straight out, put it in free spool, and you should adjust this so that the lure will pull the line off the spool, but once the lure hits the floor, the spool stops turning. If you adjust it that way, backlashes are a thing of the past. Makes it very, very user-friendly. So always remember, the tension knob, to me, is one of the most important features on a bait casting reel. Now I'll take the spool, put it back in. Now we'll take the side plate, slip it in, just like that. Pull our little catch up. We're assembled. We're ready to go fishing. The third and final step is conditioning. I take the line butter once I get all spooled up and I just saturate that spool. Turn it around, make sure you get all parts of it. I'll normally do that the night before, like I said earlier, so it can soak. And the thing about bait casters, backlashes with some reels can be a problem. That will help eliminate some of your backlash issues. And we did talk about the reel guard. You fish saltwater, you fish lakes that have a lot of corrosion issues, lime, etc. don't be afraid to use this and use it very, very liberally on your reel. And then take your cloth, wipe it down, clean it up, keep it looking good. Ardent Reel Care. Take care of the reels, then take care of you.